Markets Now is brought to you by the 5-year anniversary of Brevant Seeds. Here's to 5 years of not just winning, but collecting one game-changing W after another. See all of our wins at brevant.com/wins.
And welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rourke with Vince Boddicker, Farmers Trading Company. And we have kind of some mixed trade in both grain and livestock futures this morning. Vince, I want to talk about soybeans first off. We had a nice update yesterday. Setting back just a little today, is that just some turnaround Tuesday profit taking, you think?
That would be my guess in here. I mean, you get a big day like that, it's wonderful to see, but if the market's any good or normal, it's going to set back and say, is there buying interest here today that we can keep this thing going, or just where we're at? And I think that's what you're seeing, but overall it was impressive. That, or are we done going down? I think it takes a little more time than one day to confirm that, but we're definitely looking like it's a possibility.
Well, we ran up into chart resistance again here. And of course, last week's high in the January 1137 is going to probably be resistance until what? What's it going to take to get above that? More China business? Can the WASD do it on Friday?
If there was a big enough surprise in that WASD, it's definitely possible. I don't see where they're going to change the numbers all that much, but we've seen USDA do wilder things. But for the most part, you would think it takes more China business in that short term than that 12 million metric tons, or you get to have a weather problem in South America. And right now, that's not on the table. Not that it can't get there shortly, but nothing that looks threatening at the present time.
So we've had a buck 40 rally off the lows in the soybeans. Do you think the market already has most of the 12 million metric tons of business that's supposed to go to China already priced in or not?
I would think so, unless for some reason when we were down earlier, they pushed it further than they should have. We got to make up some of that, but I would think most of that's priced in.
Gotcha. All right. So what about yield? Do you think that we'll see soybean yield go down? And if we do, will it be very much?
If we do, I don't think at this time it's very much. I think the beans are going to be somewhat like the corn. Can the West to make up for some of the shortfalls in the East? And I haven't seen a lot from the East, but most of the stuff that I looked at earlier was lower than earlier thoughts, but really better than what some of the thoughts would have been in late August and early September.
Yeah, for sure. So the corn market has been kind of a reluctant follower of soybeans, but we're in a pretty narrow trading range right now. We're trying to see a little bit of a bounce today, but those little bounces are pretty short-lived. So talk about what the market is trading right now.
I think where it's at is, again, we didn't follow along a lot when we had the big bean rally. Because most of that news was China on that. And the other side of it is we've got a huge crop in the West. And a lot of that corn is coming to town. And I just think the market sees that, and there's probably hedge pressure that's holding it down from following a lot until we get that harvest pretty much wrapped up in the West.
Yeah. So average trade guesses out for the crop production report on Friday from USDA at 184 bushels per acre on corn. Does that sound realistic, especially with what you said about the West maybe having some very good yields versus the East? Is there an offset there?
It could be. You know, you looked at some of the private forecasters. I think last week came out at 185.9, which wasn't, or 185.6, which wasn't much less than they were before. If you take this down to 181, I think you can get some more pops out of here if that's the case.
Because right now, the average trade guess on ending stock still has us over 2.1 billion bushels, doesn't it?
Yes. Yep. And if that's a big number to get through in here, if we get that somehow get that down to 1.615, then we're in a little different world in there. But until that point, if you want to stay over 2, it's going to be tough, I think, to get a lead much over 450 or 470.
Yeah. So how much would you have to decrease yield to get under 2 billion bushels, or can demand make up for it on the underside?
You know, again, just doing quick math in my head, you would have to get another couple of bushels an acre less, or bushel and a half an acre less, to get it below that 2 billion, the way it's looking to me.
Gotcha. So if you look at a chart, December corn kind of stuck between 425 on the low and what, 435, 36 on the top.
Yes.
Pretty tough to get through, you think?
I think so. And again, just looking at my charts, I'm up in that 200-day moving average seems to be holding it also in here, which is a big technical number. And again, much like the beans at this point, it probably takes other news to get us through that. And again, if we can look at the crop, the size we are, especially in the West in here, and still holding in 430s area versus 350 or 360 where we went to last year, I think that's a win.
Gotcha. What about the wheat market? We had a nice update yesterday. Not seeing a lot of follow through today. What's going on?
I think there's still skepticism there, and there's still people that are short and willing to short it in here. But I think there's a possibility we may finally hit the bottom, and we'll have to see if we hold it. If this whole grain complex is going to go someplace, I do think wheat has to be the one to come off the bottom further than it has and probably lead the charge higher.
Okay, talk about why that's the case, because that is something that is kind of historical basis that you're basing that on, right?
Right. When I've looked at it over the years that I've done this, it seems like wheat is always the first one to top and lead the market lower, or the first one to bottom and lead the market higher. And until we get that done, I'm just not sure you have enough overall push or psychology to get everything else to go someplace.
Yeah. And we've already had what, a 60-cent rally. So is that all we can expect here, you think?
That if you look at that Kansas City, that 540 to 550 area is a tough road. If we can get through that, maybe we can do more. But we got to see what we get for a pullback. Are we going to stop in this 520 area? There's a pullback closer to 5, which is still 20 some cents off of the lows.
Yeah. So the ag sector yesterday, grains included, felt like we were seeing money flowing in on optimism about the government reopening. And I know we're supposed to vote on that in the House here on Wednesday. But how much help would that be for the market here just to start getting information like export sales and flash sales and whatnot?
If there's a lot of sales, I think it's helpful. Otherwise, it's a psychological change and probably a negative one when we had it come. So hopefully get a little bit out of it. But I'm not sure it's anything extended in here. But it sure helps the situation if we can get people talking about something else than the doldrums of the government being shut down and airline canceled and whatever else happened when we were shut down.
True. So the cattle futures, limit up closes in both live and feeder cattle futures yesterday. Live cattle, at least, aren't seeing a whole lot of follow through today. So has the market put a bottom in or not?
Hopefully we have, but I think only time is going to tell us in here. One day does not make a market. Well, last week when we came back and we confirmed bear flags on both fats and feeders, it opened the door up to some pretty good downside yet. We all have to hope and think that there's enough good fundamental things out here as far as beef demand to hold us up at where we put lows in the other day. But I think we got to give it another week just to see if we're doing that or not.
Yeah, but the funds have peeled out of a lot of their position, haven't they?
They have. And the question is, with all the uncertainty and all the tweets and True Social posts you get in here, are they willing to come back in, or are they just going to say, hey, we made our money, let's step out, we don't need the uncertainty?
Yeah, because really fundamentals haven't changed. It's just been a psychology shift, right?
Yep, exactly. Psychology, which led to money flow, and that's usually what tops or bottoms the market in here. Then the fundamentals come along, and we can say that and look at it from the fact that all of a sudden, we're going to try to bring more beef in from Argentina and slow the tariffs down in Brazil. All that's fundamental things trying to follow. We just have to hope maybe it doesn't follow through.
Yeah. All right. We'll see what we can do technically here to start healing that market. Meanwhile, Hogs had a big update yesterday. Again, not a lot of follow through. So same question, is that market bottoming or not?
I think there's a good chance that it is. We have picked up some kills over the last month or two, which I think has been somewhat negative, but Also, the beating up of that cattle market sure didn't help this, and if we can heal the cattle in here, I think you've got some shots. As we discussed earlier, that $79 area and fed in these hogs, I think, is some really good support. It should hold us for now.
Okay, we got to get cash and cut out to stabilize though too, don't we?
We do, yes. Yep. I mean, we are coming into the holiday season where hopefully we pick up that demand for the hams a bit, but let's see where we go.
All right, that's a good point. All right, thanks so much. Vince Boddicker with Farmers Trading Company and Markets Now.
You were right.
You were right.
You were right.
Well, you were right. When you choose your seed brand, there's winning, and then there's, you were right. Should have gone with Brevant seeds. When you choose Brevant seeds, you don't just win, you get to be right. Don't just win, win. Talk with your retailer or visit Brevant.com/win to get started.